And with the Monoprice 3D printer, a couple things you should look at as you're getting your printer ready for its first prints is these springs. See how this one, it's got a little space, you know, and this can do this motion. Well, look over here, those two are just jam-packed. So we need to loosen the wing nut. It's a little tricky getting your fingers in there, but it can be done. Alright, now that'll be able to function like it was designed to. And of course, there's springs in the back that are going to need the same treatment. Now something I did is I opened up this so the wires aren't getting pinched so much, and so this guide, this wire guide, can fit better. I did it on the top as well. I literally grabbed with my pliers this one of these. So when I found this printer, this wasn't connected here, and I got my pliers in onto this piece. Sorry, my fingers got in the way. And just twisted and broke it off. So that opened it up where these wires could get out of the way, making it possible to clip this on, which I'm not going to try and do with one hand. And on the bottom side I did the same thing, but to let the wires hang out the bottom, and you'll see here the little pieces where I broke that off. And I just grabbed it in the pliers and then twisted, and then, you know, grabbed the loose edges and ripped them off as well. So that way this guy can act like it was designed to. But you'll still need to pay attention to this wire. If it creeps over here, then when the tray comes back, it can pinch it, and it won't work right. So we got to make sure that this stays down. Okay. After this wire stays down, you'll see I've put a zip tie through the little holes there. And we're just gonna simply zip tie this so that it can't go anywhere. That should do it. That way this wire is gonna stay in the right place. This guide will flex as the print head moves up and down, just as this one will flex as it moves side to side. And this cable just kind of stays up and out of the way as it goes front to back. At this point, it's time to turn on the printer so that we can level the print head. And what the printer is going to do is it's going to move until this switch gets mashed flat, which you'll see happens right about here. It's going to move that way until this switch is triggered. And then it's going to move the plate back, this one, until this switch here that my thumb is on gets triggered. And then it's going to move down. Let me get my camera in here. Until this switch back here gets triggered. The one I'm pushing with my pointer finger. Okay? Let's do it. So I just flipped the switch. It's on the back here. I flipped it to turn it on. In another second or two it'll say that it's ready. We push the button and that brings up a menu. And we're going to go to quick settings and we're going to press home all. Now I'm going to hold my finger on the power switch here in the back, okay, when I do this, so that I can quickly switch it off if I hear the motors going. There we go. I'm pushing the button. Like I said, it's going to trigger that switch. It's going to trigger the other one. And now it's going to move down until it gets the switch in the back. And if we come around, we can probably see this happen. So there's the switch. It's moving down, 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 and it's about to trigger it. We may not be able to see it triggered. There it is. And then it goes up and it comes down one more time. Now at this point, all the axes are homed, and if we wanted to, we could come over here, push the button, go to position, push that again, and then go down to X position fast or slow, push the button, and then tell it where we want it to move to. You see how it's moving? I'm actually going to turn this off, because by turning it off, the motors release and we're able to just slide it with our hands. It slides very easily. And so now what we've got to do is make sure that we can fit a business card right through there, right through that gap between the nozzle and the print surface, the print bed. Right now it looks like it's loose. So that means we need to loosen the screw here and the one in the back. Now we'll move closer to this screw so we can focus on it first. And we're just going to loosen it up. That's the wrong way. There we go. Now I had it right the first time. I'm just twisting that wing nut. And I may have done it too much. See, look, I can't even get the card through now. Now, tighten it. And okay, so right near this, I can actually feel the card snag as I slide it in and out. Okay, that's what you want. You want to be able to just barely feel that card snagging. And we've got to do all four corners. So we're going to go ahead and slide this over to the other side. And you may notice that it's already tight. I cannot get my business card in there. So you'll notice this spring though, it still looks tighter than this spring. So from left to right, there are actually two rods. There's one that determine the height, and there's the other. And so I'm actually going to come over here and twist this to raise that nozzle just a little. You'll see now there's quite a bit of space. So let's go ahead and slide it on over. And then we can loosen this all the way. And go check it. Not yet. I'm actually going to come over here and twist that down a little. Okay, so it's engaging the card a little too tightly. I overdid it. I'll lift that back up a little. But once we decide we've got it how we want it, then we can't twist this anymore. Because we've got to do the back end as well. I only feel the card if the card is lifted up off the surface a little. I'm loosening it just a little more. Checking. Still not quite where I want it to be. And I almost have it. And I'm going to move in closer to my... Now the thing about this print bed is it has 4 of these wing nuts. Once we've got this tuned in, so we just barely feel that card snag, then we can't play with this anymore, because if we adjust this one, it's going to change it for the front side here and for the back side down here. So we're going to go ahead and slide to the back. And looks like the gap is really too big, which means, of course, loosen that wing nut. And after we get that one tuned in, then we're going to come over to this corner and repeat the process, loosening the wing nut till that business card contacts and you can feel just a little bit of friction sliding through. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I can slide this to about any of the 4 corners, and my card just barely fits in there. I'll admit, in some places it's a little looser than in others, but it's pretty close, and at this point I think we can go ahead and try to print something. So I've taken out a roll of filament and it needs to go on there, but you'll notice it can't, because I have a little nut on here. So we're going to take that off, and we're going to slide this on so that the filament, you can see the loose end there, it's going to just be able to roll off this front side and down, and it's going to go into this hole here. Hopefully you can see that. There's a little black hole there on this arm that springs up and down. But let's go ahead and put this nut on, which will prevent the roll from potentially falling off. Now we've turned on the printer. We need to go tell it to heat up. That's most likely going to be under extruder. Extruder 1 says it's off. Let's tell it what temperature. To put this plastic in, we probably want it at least 200 degrees Celsius. So I've twisted the knob till I've gotten that. Now I'm going to push it, and let's see if we can turn him on. He says off again. Come on. Now you remember, we've got this really close to the print bed, so I'm going to go back to position, and I'm going to raise this up. I'm going to go down to Z position fast. I'm going to raise this up about 20 millimeters, just so that that hot nozzle won't burn a hole in something. Okay. Let's go back. I'm going to check quick settings and see if they've made it easy. There we go. Quick settings, preheat BLA. I've clicked it. I should be able to go back and back again, and look at what it's doing. So yeah, it's hot. 207's hot enough to put the plastic in. It's going to heat up to 215, and then it's going to heat this bed up to about 60, and it does feel warm right now. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and put in the plastic. Carefully removed this, and you notice this is kinked. We're going to want to cut that. But you want to be careful that you don't let this thing go loose, because then you can end up with a mess on your spool. Okay, so I've just cut this. You see the short piece there that had the kink in it. I'm going to discard that, but I'm going to bring this down and into this hole here. And I'm pushing it down. I'm going to have to push this lever down in order to feed it in more. So I probably need both hands so I can do this. Yeah. So I'm going to push down this lever. I'm going to push the plastic in. And I'm actually going to push until I see plastic come out of that nozzle. So there it is. And when I was pushing this down, there was definitely a spot where it kind of snagged. But it got past that, and then it got hard to push, and then I started seeing it come out here. So at this point, it's ready to print. It's warmed up. See, 215 out of 215, 60 out of 60. And we would just need to put in the SD card. You'll notice right now it says mount card. That's because there's no card in there. It's not going to take it. So I'll get the SD card, and it slides into the little slot there labeled SD. Alright, so there's the SD card. You'll notice I'm holding it, well, you would think is upside down. So try to slide it in there. Okay, that's it. He's in. And I'll come back over here. Go to SD card. Mount card. Print file. And you'll notice they've got their manual on the card, some EXE, and then a couple different G codes. Now the thing is, I have no idea what these G codes do, so we're going to take a bit of a risk here and tell it to run number 1. You'll see now it says printing. It's waiting for the temperatures to get set the way they want them, which they're going to run the plastic a little cooler at 195 and the bed at 50. That's fine with me. And so when it reaches those temperatures, then it'll start. Okay, so it reached the temperatures, and it's homing the axes just like when we told it to. And it's going to go down until that switch is triggered, and then up and then back down. And then it's going to start printing. So at this point I want to grab that little squiggly. I could probably use a business card to try and get him out of the way. Now what we're watching for is to make sure that the plastic is sticking to this surface. And it definitely looks like it is. This print surface is specially designed to help the plastic stick to it. You'll notice though we've got a little bit of an issue. Definitely have some plastic that wasn't sticking and has created a mess. At this point I'm gonna tell the printer to stop. Of course we can turn it off. There it is. Stop the print. So in a minute it'll stop. And you'll notice it's just getting worse and worse as it keeps trying to print. So I had noticed that my business card didn't really get any friction in the middle. So in the middle of this print bed. The other thing is, now that it's heated up, this print bed's not going to be quite the same, so we're just going to go around again with the business card sliding it and adjusting the wing nuts. Before I start, checking the height again, let's go ahead and home all the axes. And we're going to go ahead and come over here and just scrape this off. There it goes. And I just want to make sure that everything's still warm. And it is, which is good. Because metal expands as it heats up. So this time, to keep things warm, I am going to use the position option to move X. Printer gets started, you probably want to clean off some of the plastic that's kind of dribbling out. Gravity will pull it down as it turns liquid. And then as it gets started, you really want to watch the first layer. Well, probably the first two layers. The first one's the critical one, because it provides the foundation for everything else. And if you don't have a secure foundation, you're going to run into trouble. There we go. So it's putting it down. So far, so good. As it starts zigzagging, some of the zigs and zags may not stick. And yeah, you see how it looped right there rather than being all firm? This tells me that this front side here isn't touching well enough, which means I need to loosen up the wing nut here. Of course, I don't really want to try and do that while it's moving. You'll notice this side's holding on alright, and I'm going to go ahead and stop it. Which again, you push the button, you got to go down to SD card, and then you can stop the print. And it'll take it a minute. See, it's still going, because it had several commands queued up that it's executing before it's going to stop. And you can see how, because that first layer didn't go down, this second layer is making a pile up right there. Alright, so it stopped. We need to change the position. I'm just going to give that knob a good spin, raise that up. And I'm also going to tell it to move in the Y position and bring it back out towards me. Yeah, that's coming towards me. Alright. Now we're just going to peel this off. And the back side does feel nicely stuck. That feels oh, this side though is weak. This side was pretty tight, and I'm just gonna see how this side feels. That side was weaker too. So this tells me that both the back and the front here, they need to be loosened. So if you know the right hand rule, this is my right hand. If I twist something the direction my finger's pointing, it's going to tighten it. It's going to move in the direction of my thumb, okay? So if I twist the way this finger points, like this way, it's going to move in the direction of my thumb. So I actually want to take this wing nut and go the opposite direction. So I don't want to go this way with it, because that'll tighten it. That'll move the wing nut up, pulling this down, okay? So we're actually going to go the opposite way, which is this way. Now we're going to come and do this back one as well. And just because this one was a little loose, I'm going to do it just a little bit as well. Okay. So we got that off. And every now and then it might be worth it to take a alcohol wipe and just gently wipe this surface down with an alcohol wipe. Now we can go back to printing. And you can get to them through SD card print file, or when the SD card is installed, there's a print file option. And what we're looking for is G code. There it goes. So it's gotten started. Now we're just watching it again to see if it gets all its zigs and zags in right. It's definitely doing better. So our adjustments definitely seem to have in. You can see my business card's got lots of streaks because I made sure there was friction in between the card and the print, you know, the extruder and the print bed. And now it's printed the first layer and it's moved on to the second. And as long as this second layer doesn't cause the first one to peel up, we should be good. So I will pause and then in about a minute record a little bit more. So it's almost done with the second layer. What it's doing is creating what's called a raft. A raft is a plastic material that's printed down and attaches to the print bed, but is a sacrificial layer. You know, it's not going to be part of the final product. So it's going to do another layer going across the other way to make this raft a nice solid smooth surface onto which it can print the desired object. With this print bed, the raft is not really necessary. While we're waiting, let me mention something else about this 3D printer. The way this extruder works, it's critical that this fan be spinning when the extruder is heated. Without the fan blowing air across these fins, the extruder can get too hot. And then you'll notice there's a little fan here that will occasionally turn on. This is the fan that actually blows to cool the plastic. But this one here is critical. It should be on whenever this extruder is heated up, and it should just run constantly. If you're curious about how long this print's going to take, we can twist this knob and it will give us a time estimate. So 1 hour 11 minutes. And we've only printed 2.4 meters of filament. Yeah, it's going to take a while. 3D printing's not fast, but it is fun and it does let you do some incredible things.